This program is for educational purposes only. The content is not intended to diagnose, treat, cure, or prevent any diseases, nor is it intended to take the place of your primary care physician. The statements in this program have not been evaluated by the FDA. Testimonials are shared as individual experiences, and the individual results vary and may not be typical. We do not make any claims regarding health or income. As an empowered individual, you do have options available. We are honored to have a founding father of the science of epigenetics guiding us with the best options to obtain or maintain optimal health. Dr. Joel Lawley. Hello, everybody, and welcome back to Daily with Doc and Becca. I am your hostess, Becca Dukes. I'm a certified holistic health coach, a certified naturopathic practitioner, and the director of student services for the Institute of Holistic Health. And this is a resource for an amazing community where we are sharing truth about nutrition and its role in health. So, folks, I hope that you are ready, as today is Pharmacist Fridays. If somebody referred you to this program, make sure that you get back with them, as they are your personal contact at getting more information. Now, if you have never tried anything that's mentioned on this program, you are not working with anybody, feel free to give our call team a call at 855-949-3377. Again, that's 855-949-3377. And again, that's for people who are not already working with a coach. Also, this program is being sponsored by dailywithdoc.com, where you'll find replays of our past programming. You'll have a good foods, bad foods list if you need some encouragement on what to and not to eat, and also a way that you can sign up and request a free health evaluation. Again, if you're not working with somebody else. There's also a store there that is available with the products that may be mentioned on this program. Now, without further ado, we're going to be handing the mic over to you. As we have Q&A with Pharmacist Ben, we've got questions coming in through our email at questions@dailywithdoc.com. We also have questions that are coming through some of our communications channels with the different health coaches, and also here live with us in the Zoom. If you would like to join us live today, you can go to zoom.dailywithdoc.com. zoom.dailywithdoc.com, but please email us zoom@dailywithdoc.com if you would like to continue to be part of our live Zoom audience, as we have some changes coming up. We want to make sure that we keep this a safe environment for one and all. Now, as I mentioned, it's all about truth and the nutrition and how it affects the body. So that is awesome, because we have the perfect person today to share this information with us. And it is, like I said, Pharmacist Fridays. That means that we've got the brilliant, bold, and always thought-provoking Pharmacist Ben Fuchs back with us. Hello, Pharmacist Ben. Welcome to your day.
I like that. Always thought provoking. That's what I want to do. Is I want to provoke thought. That's my goal.
Well,
We don't think, we obviously have a serious health crisis, health epidemic. The statistics are crazy. Some 50% of Americans have one chronic disease over the age of 65, multiple chronic diseases. 130 million Americans have 30 million Americans have an autoimmune disease. 200 million Americans or 150 have fatty liver disease, on and on and on. But the real problem is we don't critically think. We don't know how to process information. So we operate via memes and heuristics and shortcuts, and slogans and jargons and marketing and advertising have an impact on our decision making. So instead of
mm,
critically thinking and analyzing information, we do what we're told, or we do what we're suggested. Even more often, we do what we're suggested. They don't always tell you exactly what do they suggest. Advertising and marketing and conditioning and cultural beliefs and authorities. And we don't analyze data correctly. We don't critically think. So when you say, I'm thought provoking, that's exactly what I want to be. I want people to think, to assess the significance of what the logic of what they're being told to do, and the significance and the ultimate impact of what they're being told to do on their bodies, whether it's removing an organ or whether it's injecting something experimental into your system, or whether it's taking this particular drug or having this particular surgical procedure done. We want to critically think. So thank you for saying that.
well, we're not robots. We should be able to critically think.
Yes.
With a robot, you program it. That's the only thing that it can do. Well, let's change that programming, Pharmacist Ben. Open it up and allow people to start thinking more for themselves. Something that my father told me a long time ago, because I had mentioned, well, that just doesn't make any sense. Where is that person's common sense?
Right.
And he said, the common sense of one is not that of another.
It's funny you say that, because common sense is the sense that's common to everybody. But like you say, what's sensible for one person is not going to be necessarily sensible for another person. Yes, common sense is not all it's cracked up to be. You want to do what's sensible and makes sense for you. Think for yourself. Be your own health
Well,
authority. Be your own authority.
that's right.
We're led to believe that we're not capable. We're led to believe that we're not smart enough. We're not competent enough. This is too complicated for the average person to understand. Have I ever said anything complicated on this program? It's plumbing. It's the movement of fluids, leaky gut, dietary strategies, breathing. This is not complicated. Health is not complicated. Your health is easier than you think, and that's why we're here.
It definitely is. And I remember when I was one of those individuals that I would hear something, I would try it, it didn't work. And so then I started digging deeper and deeper. And finally, when I had hit rock bottom, somebody referred Dr. Wallach and his message to me. I'm like, well, I've tried everything else. Why not one more thing? And I'm so glad that I did.
And look at you now.
Because it wasn't fractionated nutrition. It was a system that my body was starving for. So let's help some more starving people,
All right.
Pharmacist Ben.
Let's let it go. Let her rip.
All right, folks, if you're here live with us and you would like to ask a question, go ahead and find that option to raise your hand, as Colleen has, and we are going to be going through and answering questions in the order that we see those hands raised. So let's go right over to Colleen, and we also have some emails that are coming in. Colleen, what question do you have for Pharmacist Ben today?
Yes, I have a client who has been sending me some of her doctor results, and I don't understand any of them, so I want to make sure I'm getting her on the right protocol. But
Okay.
she has transferrin saturation is low.
Say again. I didn't quite understand that. Her transferritin.
Yeah, that might be it. Yes.
Okay, got it.
The globulin is high, and she's positive for the rheumatoid factor and has ANCA.
And has what? What was the last thing you said?
ANCA. I don't know what the difference is between that and ANA, so I want to make sure I'm getting her the
Okay.
right thing.
Okay, so it sounds like she's dealing with an autoimmune problem, basically with
Yeah.
the issues. And you don't, I mean, what's the point of testing? She knows she has an autoimmune problem. She knows she has her hands aren't working, she's in chronic pain. ANCA is just a measurement of certain antibodies.
Okay.
Any antibodies that are directed against her immune system. So, she's got an autoimmune problem, period. You don't need it to go to a doctor for that. Autoimmune problems. Is this gal on the call by any chance?
No.
Okay. Autoimmune problem. And do you have any information about her other than her tests?
She's got some severe fatigue
No,
and
no. Do you, I mean, like age and weight and height and all that kind of stuff? Medication?
55. She's 55. She's 265 pounds on blood sugar medication.
How much? How many pounds?
265.
How tall?
5'5".
Okay, so listen. We're talking just logic here. If you're 5'5" and 260 pounds, this is not about hurting anybody's feelings or being insulting. It's just strictly health. If you're 5'5" and 260 pounds, can you see a problem? What is the point of going to a doctor and having your tests and having tests and measurements and having metrics and finding what your globulin or transferritin is and this and that and the other? It's irrelevant. This woman needs to correct her metabolism. She's got a serious metabolic problem. And at this point, it's now tumbled out of control to where she's got an autoimmune disease. So I don't know if you've been on the calls before, but we always talk about the mechanism of autoimmune diseases. And this is important because the medical model does not recognize this, but logic does. And if you have the medical model here and you have logic here, what do you go first? Logic, obviously. Okay, so here's how an autoimmune disease works. It's for everybody listening, and this you take it to your doctor and you dare him to show where this is incorrect. And they'll tell you, oh, it's your mother had it, your father had it, it's hereditary, there's no cause, there's nothing we could do, blah, 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 blah. It's craziness. Because when I tell you how logical it is, you're going to go like this. Of course. So, an autoimmune disease is when the body turns its immune system on itself. Not because there's a mistake, not because the body is stupid, not because it's out of control and crazy. That's what they all tell us. Body's stupid, it makes a mistake. We don't know why it's making a mistake. Body doesn't make mistakes. What's happening is the tissue is looking distorted. She's suffering from an autoimmune disease is when you're suffering from distorted tissue. So the question is, why is the tissue distorted? In the case of rheumatoid, it's the cartilage and the joints that are joint tissue that's distorted. In the case of Sjogren's, it's the glands tissue that's distorted. In the case of MS, it's the nerve tissue that's distorted. It doesn't matter which tissue, that's irrelevant. It's just that the tissue is distorted. So then the question is, we're working like troubleshooting. We're backtracking. Make sense here, Colleen?
Yes.
We're just working backwards. So tissue is distorted. Why is tissue distorted? Well, something has gotten into the tissue to create a distortion, to change it. How do things get into the tissue? Same way they get anywhere. How do things, I'll ask you, Colleen, you're a health coach, you said. So how do things get into tissue or into cells? Where? No, that's ultimately, yes, that's true. But how do they get into the tissues? They don't go from leaky gut into the tissues. What's the mediator? What's the middle?
Blood.
Exactly. That's why they tested her blood. They're looking for immune particles in the blood. Okay? So they're admitting it's in the blood. They know it's in the blood. So right away, if they tell you there's no cause, we know that they don't know what they're talking about because it's in the blood. They know it's in the blood. That's why they're testing the blood.
Right.
So right? So they say, oh, we don't know. It's no cause. It's in the blood. You're testing the blood. Obviously, it's in the blood. So now how do things get into the blood?
Leaky gut.
Yes. And then, I mean, come on. You're smarter than your doctor now, Colleen. You see what I'm saying? I'm being facetious a little bit, but you see what I'm saying? It's just logic here. Now, I will say that if you inject things through the skin into the blood, you can also have a problem, and that's why you want to be very careful about injecting things into the blood through the skin. So, but aside from that, leaky gut and autoimmune disease are like this: two peas in a pod, hand in hand, A to B. Cause effect. Any way you want to look at it, they're linked. Now, I don't know this lady. You don't know this lady. Well, you know her better than I do, I assume. But we don't, we're not in her house. We're not watching her every day. But I can guarantee you with 100% certitude, not 99.99999, 100%, this is a woman who has had long-standing digestive health issues. Okay? Now, do you know her well enough to know if that's true?
Yes.
Okay. Now, am I psychic? No. It's just logic, right? It's just common. If you understand how this whole thing puts together, it's just logical, right? So immediately you got to patch up the gut. And this is true for all autoimmune diseases, all of them. If somebody goes to a doctor for an autoimmune disease, it's on them, not the doctor's fault. They're just doing what they do. If you go to the doctor, this is a woman who's 5'5", 260 pounds, and she's going to the doctor to have the doctor tell her what to do if there's something wrong. Well, this is crazy. You know, it's just crazy to me. It's absolutely crazy to me. What, she's going to the doctor, really? What's the doctor going to do? So right away patch up the gut. And I'll tell you how you do that in a second. But she's got other issues. She's 5'5", 260. That's morbidly obese. Okay, that's not mildly obese. That's morbidly obese. Morbid means you're on the way to death, right? That means there's serious metabolic issues, serious. And I don't know if you heard us talk about the triangle of disease, but that makes perfect sense because when there's long-standing digestive issues, it's a short jump to metabolic issues. You're not fueling metabolic issues. Metabolism refers to how you make energy. And when you have issues at the level of the intestine, ultimately you're going to have problems making energy. So metabolic issues follow digestive issues. So then you're going to have to be correcting metabolic issues. Once you get those two pieces under control, you can fine tune, and you're going to want to fine tune, but a lot of stuff is going to fall into place. Once you patch up the gut and reduce inflammation, and by the way, at the level of the intestine, when you have leaky gut, that means that you have inflammation in the intestine. The intestine's a tube, right? So there's blood on the other side of the intestine, and leaky gut means things are leaking through into the blood. Leaky gut means there's inflammation at the level of the intestine. Inflammation at the level of the intestine means not only is stuff going to get into the blood, but she's also going to be dealing with malabsorption. She's not going to be absorbing her B vitamins. She's not going to be absorbing her electrolytes. She's not going to be absorbing her vitamin C. Likely she's not going to be absorbing her fats, although that's a little bit different. You follow what I'm saying here?
Yes.
So now she's dealing with toxicity in the blood plus malnourishment. Can you see why there would be a problem now, right? So now she's got leaky gut, toxicity in the blood. She's got malnourishment. She's not making energy correctly. So the energy, the calories are not being turned into energy. They're being stored as fat. She's got a whole bunch of stuff happening, but you don't want to go to the different branches on the tree when you can go right to the root. If she goes to all the different branches and all the different fruits, she's going to go to an apple doctor and a banana doctor and a pineapple doctor and a berry doctor and a grape doctor. You see what I'm saying? She's going to go to an endocrinologist, and she's going to go to a rheumatologist, and she's going to an immunologist, and she's going to go to a cardiologist, whatever she has. She's going to go to all these different fruit doctors. You know what I'm saying? When we can go right to the root. Work on the gut. Work on the gut. Now, the only issue here, this is perfectly simple, right? I'm sure everybody understands this. But the only issue is people don't want to work on the gut. Even if they have the best of intentions, they don't want to stop eating the way they eat. They've been eating that way. They get pleasure. If you don't have a lot of pleasure in your life and all of a sudden somebody takes your last pleasure away, that's not going to go over well, right? So you start off slow. You have the patient vested. You have her participating. So she can kind of see the connection between how she's living her life and her symptoms. Doctor's saying there's no cause. So to her, I mean, I've never had that kind of condition, but I can only imagine in my mind how terrifying that must be. Oh my God, there's no cause. I'm just going to fall apart and there's nothing I can do. I'm going to die and there's nothing I can do. My body's is obese and I'm in pain and I can't move my joints and there's nothing I can do. As opposed to, this is what's happening, here's what you can do. Do you see the difference? Her doctor, she goes to the doctor's office and she's probably freaking out. She's hopeless. All I can do is be on steroids or have surgery done. And I got to go back 6 months just to make sure. And every 6 months, I got to go back. That's what they tell you. You got to go back. But we're telling her, let's show you how your lifestyle choices are impacting your the way your body is showing up. And so a food diary becomes critical. A food diary, at the very least, will show her that there's a relationship between things she's doing and her symptoms and the way her body's showing up. So food diary is important. Now, it helps when you do a food diary to stop eating for a day or two and do a water fast. And by the way, a lot of times when you're hungry, you're really thirsty. And a lot of times when you think you need to have something to eat, your appetite can be quenched with a 32-ounce glass of water, distilled water, clean water. And I encourage everybody out there to try that. Next time you're hungry, really, really hungry, try drinking a 32-ounce glass, a quart. 32 ounces, a lot of water, but try drinking it, and you'll notice that for the most part, you're not going to, unless you're super starving, you need to have some food, which is rare, you're going to notice you're fine. So water fast for a day, maybe two. Not only will that resensitize her system to her bodily responses, because a lot of times things go under the radar. We don't notice them when they happen all the time. But when you stop eating, all of a sudden she's going to have corn and she's going to go, oh my God, I'm bloating. Or have oatmeal and oh my God, I'm, have constipation. She'll notice things. But also, it's going to give her blood and her digestive system and her immune system a break, a day off. You know what I'm saying? It's going to give her her body some peace. When a body's inflamed like this, it's in major distress. And so what that does, when you stop the stream of toxicity coming in, you calm everything down. Not only that, but you also clean everything out. So you calm everything down with a fast. You clean everything out. When I say clean everything out, I'm talking about macroscopically. You clean out the digestive tract. People have great bowel movements on day 2 of a fast because everything comes out. And you also clean out the cellular debris and the dead cells and the dysfunctional cells via a process called autophagy, which you probably heard of. So you improve cellular cleaning, like a self-cleaning dishwasher, and you clean out the digestive system. You stop the stream of toxicity from getting into the body. If there's any inflammatory pain, that subsides. And when she starts eating again, she's going to notice things. Make sense?
Yes.
Okay, so food diary, number 1. And plus, that gets her involved in her own healing process, which is always in your interest, Colleen. It's always in the helper's interest to have the patient participating. You don't want to be just telling them what to do. You want them involved. Okay? Then when they start eating again, they're going to notice things, and she's going to notice a lot of things. And you eliminate those foods. You eliminate the problem foods. That's called the elimination diet. So food diary, elimination diet. Step number 1. Step number 2 is you correct the intestinal environment. The major cause of this inflammatory reaction to there's a few causes, but the major cause is something called dysbiosis, messed up gut bacteria. And messed up gut bacteria can happen from a lot of reasons. It can happen from chlorine and fluoride in water. It can happen from the wrong kinds of foods that feed bacteria. It can come from antibiotics that people take. It can come from a lot of things. So you want to repopulate the gut with probiotics, good bacteria. Yeah, you want to start slowly when somebody is this disturbed because she may have something called, she probably does have something called SIBO, which is already a lot of bacteria. And sometimes when people take probiotics, it can exacerbate SIBO. So you want to start off a little bit carefully that way. Okay. Along the same lines, I-26 can help kill off the bad bacteria when she has SIBO. So get her on the I-26 as well. Also, you also want to start strengthening the intestine. FucoidZ, collagen peptides, ultimate EFAs, TMR shake. All of these can have some strengthening effects for the intestinal lining. Okay, are you with me?
You said TMR shake?
TMR shake. All of these will strengthen the intestinal lining.
Perfect.
And then there's one, Gluco-Gel caps.
Yep.
Okay, then if she wants, and actually the Healthy Bone and Joint Pack, which we sell as a for bone and joints, also will help strengthen the intestine. You're building the connective tissue. Okay, then she could probably benefit from Dr. Ariaz's liver cleanse because she's probably way toxic at the level of the liver and the gallbladder. Okay? Then there's tons here. If you, and I should tell you, you don't want to throw a lot of products at a person because people get overwhelmed and they don't have a lot of money sometimes and they feel uncomfortable. So you want to start off a little bit slowly. Ideally, if somebody really complains that they don't have a lot of money and they can't afford anything, just start with the Beyond Tangy Tangerine. All right, so you're gonna have to decide where you want to be. I would do I-26 second if you want to do something else, just to get things going. And then you can start, and then also once you start seeing results, she's going to be more likely to get more product. But I'm just going to tell you some products. I don't want you to think, oh, every single one of these she's got to be on. Okay, she can be on as many or as little or as many as she wants. The more she takes, the better off she'll be. But you don't want your patient to feel like it's all or none. You know what I mean? Like she has to have everything, or it's not worth anything. It's not worth doing anything.
Yep.
Okay, then there's the metabolic issues, and that's where the sweeties would come in. Okay, and that's I'm sorry, not the sweeties, the healthy blood sugar pack, which has sweeties in it. And then also for people who want to be on blood sugar control, there are other supplements that are not part of the healthy blood sugar pack that can be helpful for blood sugar, including Ultimate Selenium, Ultimate Niacin, excuse me, FucoidZ, MSM, Ultimate MSM, Zinc FX. All of these can have nice effects for blood sugar.
Perfect.
Ultimate Microbiome also. And although I'd be careful with her on the Ultimate Microbiome if she has SIBO. And then also the water that we talked about earlier, that can dilute blood sugar. And she didn't say anything about metabolic syndrome. She didn't say anything about blood sugar, but guaranteed that's a problem for her. You can't not have that problem. She didn't say anything about hypertension or cardiovascular disease. Guaranteed that's a problem as well. The good news is when you operate at this level that I just told you, every single one of those symptoms is going to start to resolve. Now, she does sound like she's kind of pretty progressed. So it's not like she's going to turn it around completely right away, but she can begin to turn it around right away.
Right.
Okay?
You said the Beyond Tangy Tangerine. Is there any reason why that would be better than the 3.0?
You mean the Rise and Shine, that one? The Rise and Restore? Cost.
Okay.
It's more cost effective. The Rise and Restore is nice. It has some bells and whistles. It's divided up into functionality and time, morning and night. But for somebody who's just starting, I would just start with Beyond Tangy Tangerine. I'm sure somebody's going to get mad at me for saying that, but that's just what I would do.
No, that's okay.
All right?
Thanks.
All right.
All right. Thank you so much, Colleen. Pharmacist Ben, let's go to a question that was emailed into us. Oh, well, I've got a lot of them, but let's go to.
Yes.
What role does excess sun have in skin cancer? Are the cells still considered dysfunctional in the 3 ways you mentioned? And that was in a previous newsletter.
Starvation, suffocation, and toxification.
Yes.
So let's talk about skin cancer. First of all, skin cancer rates are not dropping. They're going up. So right away, we know the way we're told to take care of our skin to prevent skin cancer is wrong, right? Because skin cancer is not going down. Everybody's wearing sunscreens. And there's sunscreens and, eye creams and body lotions. Even if you don't want to wear a sunscreen, there's products that have sunscreens in them. Sunscreens are nasty chemicals. Nasty. Toxic, as a matter of fact. They're regulated as drugs because they are toxic. And you can only have a certain amount in a product because it is toxic. And I don't care what any dermatologist tells you. And I know I get heat for it every time I say this. I did a video on TikTok a few years ago. It was the most, for 2 days, it was the most viewed video, TikTok video on skincare in the world for 2 days. And there were thousands of comments on it. Why? Because I had the nerve to say sunscreens are toxic. And all these dermatologists came on. And who is this guy? How could he say this? He's crazy. Don't listen to him. Blah. There was one dermatologist. She's a famous influencer. And she did one of those things where she puts me talking and then says how stupid I am for everything I said. And rolls her eyes at all the things I said. Because she's probably going out telling people to wear sunscreens. Well, now Whole Foods banned sunscreens from all their sun protection products. Hawaii bans sunscreens on the beaches. Key West bans sunscreens on the beaches because they kill the coral. So, you know, when you go against the status quo, that's what happens. And you got to have thick skin, and I have thick skin, luckily. No pun intended talking about skin cancer, but the point is that these chemicals that purport to protect us from the sun are toxic chemicals. If you don't have an option, you're going to burn, wear them, but get them off when you don't need them. That being said, when you talk about skin cancer, this question about skin cancer, there's really two types of skin cancer. Some people say three. The two main types of skin cancer are non-melanoma skin cancer. They call them NMSCs. These non-melanoma skin cancers, we've all heard the term basal cell carcinoma and squamous cell carcinoma. The next type of skin cancer is called melanoma, much less common, very lethal. I don't usually regard it as a skin cancer, even though it shows up on the skin, because you can have melanoma inside your body. We did, in pharmacy school, we had to do an autopsy on a dead body, and it happened to have been a farmer. And when they opened him up, he had melanoma all over the inside of his body. So melanomas occur from melanocytes. Those are the cells that make melanin. And they're on the skin, yes, but they're also inside the body. They're in the brain. And they're actually they're found throughout the body, we'll say. Famously, Jimmy Carter, you may remember this, President Carter, he died a few months ago or maybe a year ago. He was 90 in his early 90s, and he had melanoma of the brain, which is highly lethal. And guess what? In his 90s, he recovered from melanoma of the brain, one of those deadly cancers there is. And that should be an inspiration to anybody who's dealing with any kind of cancer. Melanoma is a highly lethal cancer. And in the brain, you can imagine the problems there. He was in his 90s and he recovered from it. Okay, so none of these necessarily have to be death sentences. So I don't really consider, melanoma happens on the skin, obviously, but when we talk about skin cancers, mostly the non-melanoma skin cancers, which are basal cell and squamous cell carcinomas. Okay, now, in order to understand what this is about, you got to kind of understand the skin, first of all. And the skin is layered, stratified. You got a top layer that's hard. In fact, it's called the hard layer. Stratum corneum means the hard layer. And then you have layers underneath. The bottom layer is called the basal layer, and that's where the living skin cells are. As the skin cells rise from the basal layer to the stratum corneum, they're changing shape and they're becoming progressively less alive. Actually, they're really only alive in the two bottom layers, which are called the basal layer and the squamous layer, which is why the only two skin cancers are basal cell carcinoma and squamous cell carcinoma. Those are the only two places you have living cells. You can't have cancer in a cell that's not living. So basal cell carcinoma is much more common. 80% of skin cancers are basal cell. They're easy to treat. They can metastasize, they can spread, but very rarely. They're much easier to treat. They're very common. And I'll tell you about the cause of them here in a second. Squamous cell, which is about 20% of skin cancers, that one is a little bit more dangerous, the squamous cell carcinoma. And that one is something that has a higher risk of metastases, especially in somebody is on immunosuppressant drugs, if they're on chemotherapy. That one you got to be a little bit more careful of. Either way, the most important term in the word skin cancer is not skin. It's cancer. Cancer is cancer, whether it's in the liver or on the skin or in the bone or in the kidney or in anywhere else. It's the cancer part that counts. So she asked about the sun. The sun is an accelerant. It can speed things up. It's putting energy into a disturbed system. But the system has to be disturbed first. When you're a little kid, you're out in the sun all day long, and you don't get skin cancer. People get skin cancer when they're older and their metabolism is starting to become disturbed. So the way you deal with skin cancer is you treat it as cancer, not as a skin problem. This is why skin cancers keep coming back. Because while they remove it, they don't take care of the environment that produced the cancer in the first place. And that's why we talk about the environment. So Cancer is caused by, the gal who asked this question said, is it saying three things? Yes. Starvation, suffocation, and toxification. A cancer cell is a cell that doesn't know what to do. What do I mean by that? Under ordinary circumstances, cells do their thing. They're fed and they're oxygenated and they're detoxified and they're healthy and they're happy. But if a cell is not getting the nutrition it needs, if a cell is not getting the oxygen it needs, and by the way, where does nutrition and oxygen get delivered from? The blood. So we're back to dirty blood again. If a cell is not getting the nutrition and the oxygen that it needs, and it's not getting its toxins removed, eventually you have a cell that is swimming in its own poison, its own acids, it's starving, and it's suffocated. Obviously not a good situation for a cell. And this creates dysfunction at the level of the cell. The cell becomes less able to do what it's supposed to do. And ultimately, it becomes distorted and disturbed, and it becomes marked for destruction. And the immune system sees it and removes it. And this is a beautiful system. The immune system removes dysfunctional cells. The cells are dysfunctional from starvation, suffocation, and toxification. It's a perfect system. And for the most part, 99% of the time, it works great. But every once in a while, it doesn't work great. In other words, every once in a while, a cell sneaks through the immune surveillance. The immune system is constantly surveilling for distorted or dysfunctional cells, and every once in a while misses one. It's almost perfect, but every once in a while, there's have 100 trillion cells, so one goes on gets missed, it slips through the cracks, and then this cell starts to it continues about its dysfunctional way of being. However, over time, as this cell is robbed of oxygen, nutrition, and swimming in its own toxicity, eventually it has to operate on safe mode. Just like your computer, if you have something wrong with your hard drive, your computer, I don't know if you've ever seen this, Rebecca, I'm looking at you because I can't see anybody else. Your computer still works, but it doesn't do everything. That's called on safe mode. And why does it operate on safe mode? Because it doesn't have enough energy to do all the things it's supposed to do with 80 icons or 100 icons and all the stuff that's going on in your desktop and in your all the different files in the background, all the stuff computers do. I don't even know what they all do, but it takes a lot of energy. It can't do it anymore. It goes on safe mode. A cell does the same thing. And in order to understand the safe mode phenomenon, you got to understand a little bit about cell biology and really the evolution of cells. And that is that there are two different types of cells. You have old style cells, cells 1.0, and then you have new style cells, cells 2.0. For hundreds of millions of years, there was only cell 1.0. Cell 1.0 is a very primitive cell. It's the first version of cells. It's a proto-cell. It can do stuff. It's shaped like a cell. It has some working parts in it, but it doesn't really have a nucleus that's distinct. It doesn't have a very effective membrane. It doesn't have a lot of subcellular parts. It's primitive, but it's very effective in the sense that it can resist things. It doesn't take a lot of nutrition. It can divide. It can do a lot of things, but it's just very primitive and very backwards. About 500 million years ago, a great leap was made, and that's a really kind of an interesting story in itself. From cells 1.0 to cells 2.0, all of our cells are cells 2.0. However, cells 2.0 require a lot of things. They're advanced. They're like a Ferrari compared to a Model T. They require sophistication. They require certain nutrients. They require a lot of oxygen. They require a clean environment. They're much more sensitive. Not only that, but cells 2.0 are so advanced that they can specialize. Cells 2.0 can become special components of the body. Cells 2.0 can become a liver. Cells 2.0 can become skin, they can become bone, they can become kidneys, they can become brains, they can become spinal cords, they can become immune systems, they can become spleens and intestines and all the other parts of the body. Cells 2.0 can specialize. They're super, super, super advanced. Cells 1.0 can't specialize. They're just blobs. When a cell 0.0, excuse me, cell 1.0 divides, it just becomes a blob. It becomes a slime. It becomes a film. It doesn't become distinct. Bacteria are the classic examples of cell 1.0. Your cells, our cells, body cells are all cell 2.0. When a cell 2.0 has been starved, doesn't have enough nutrition, when it's been suffocated, doesn't have enough oxygen, when it's become toxic, it's swimming in its own poison and acids, it'll kick, most of the time it dies or it gets removed, excised, but every once in a while, it will revert back to being cell 1.0. Cell 1.0, protocells, primitive cells, they call them prokaryotes technically, can divide. They divide just fine, but they can't specialize. They can't do anything really. They can't produce things very effectively. They're just primitive cells and they just divide and they steal nutrients because as they're dividing, they're using nutrients. Cell 2.0 that has reverted back to cell 1.0 is called cancer. A cancer cell is cell 1.0. And in fact, there's really no such thing as cancer. There's cancer cells. There's no such thing as breast cancer. There's breast cancer cells. There's no such thing as prostate cancer. There's prostate cancer cells. There's no such thing as skin cancer. There's skin cancer cells. And this is not just a semantic difference. I'm not just playing with words. It's important to understand because when we hear prostate cancer, we think, oh, I'll just take out my prostate. We don't realize that it's a cell phenomenon. It's not the gland that's the problem. It's the cells. And if you understand it's the cells, now you can say, okay, what's wrong with the cells? And then you can start to create a different environment for the cells. If you say it's just the organ, there's nothing you can do. You've got to take it out. But if you see it as a cellular phenomena, cells that are starved, suffocated, and toxic, like this gal asked, yes, that's exactly what it is. Now you see that you have an opportunity to do something. And just like with this other gal, this is the most important gift that we give our clients, is this gift of the understanding there's something they can do. Not that I just have to yank my organs out. Not that I just have to take out the skin cancer and just hope for the best for next time. We now have control over our body. So skin cancer is not about the skin, it's about the cancer. It's not about the organ, it's about the cell. And yes, it's caused by exactly the same thing that causes any other cancer, starvation, suffocation, and toxification. Although the fact that the cells are on the outside when you have the skin cancer, so you're more susceptible to that. You're going to be more. The sun is going to be more of a problem. You don't have to worry about the sun if you have a cancer cell inside the body, but on the outside of the body, because the sun is an accelerant, it's energy. You're zapping that cancer with energy, and it's already hyperactive. It's already dividing very rapidly. The sun can be involved. But just protecting yourself from the sun is not going to save you from skin cancer. As we see, skin cancer rates going up, even though we're all wearing sun protection. So what do? You do the same thing you do for any other health challenge. You feed the cells, you breathe the cells, and you detoxify the cells. That means nutritional supplementation. That means patching up the leaky gut. That means reducing toxicity from sugar. That means making sure you're on your Mighty 90 essential nutrients. That means going ketogenic. All the things you have to do to stay healthy if you have any health challenge. And that's how you want to look at cancer, like any other health challenge.
Well, and following that diet before you get any type of health challenges.
Ideally, because we blame the sun. You know, the sun gets blamed. McDonald's never gets blamed. French fries never get blamed. You know, junk food never gets blamed. The excess sugar that we're ingesting, high calories, don't get blamed. The food toxins don't get blamed. Our immune suppressant lifestyle, our elevated cortisol lifestyle doesn't get blamed. The sun gets blamed. You know, and I love my dermatology friends, but this isn't a dermatology issue, although you do want to have your cancer removed. That is true. You do want to have your cancer removed once it's there. But as you said, Rebecca, it's about prevention. That's really where you're going to get the most benefit, the most health benefit from your lifestyle choices, is not by going to the dermatologist, but by preventing the cancers in the first place. If you have a cancer, though, you do have to have it removed.
All right. Well, you had mentioned prostate cancer, and we do have a question in regards to PSA.
Yes.
And individual wants to know if they should be concerned if the PSA is 4.0, which I know depending on age, allopathic medicine has, 60 or over, you want to have it under 4.0. If you're younger than that,
PSAs are passe. They're not
passe.
really, yes. There's a lot of problems with PSAs. And to have a cancer protocol or have your prostate removed because you have an elevated PSA, they don't do that anymore. Or, most people don't. I'm sure there's some doctors just to do that. That's overdiagnosis and overtreatment based on high PSAs is a huge problem. And you can have aggressive prostate cancer and have normal or have low PSAs. So PSAs, low false negatives, false positives, PSA screenings miss cancers. Really, it's much ado about nothing. However, I've been hearing a lot of things about prostate cancer. I must have gotten 4 calls about it in the last couple of weeks on prostate issues. The prostate is a fatty gland and is very responsive to inflammatory fats. The inflammatory system in the body runs on fats. It's kind of cool how this happens. The inflammatory system in the body has an inflammatory system and an anti-inflammatory system. They're balanced. Did we talk about this on Monday? I forgot if we talked about this with somebody. I forgot who it was. So you have an inflammatory.
AJ says yes.
Yeah, okay, it was AJ. So you have an inflammatory, you have inflammation and anti-inflammation. They're in balance. And anti-inflammation or healing requires inflammation. If you take anti-inflammatory drugs, for example, Motrin, people are chronically on Motrin, you don't give your body a chance to heal. And that's the problem with our health strategies that focus on inflammation. There's some people who tell you not to use inflammatory omega-6 fats. I hear even longevity people say this. I hear a lot of people say this. Okay? What people miss when they say this is, first of all, we don't get enough omega-6 fats because even though we eat the oils that have the omega-6 fats, they're all processed. They're all heated. And the omega-6 fats are gone or they're distorted. They're destroyed. So most people are deficient in both. That's first of all. Secondly, you need more omega-6s in your bodies than omega-3s. And thirdly, the omega-6s control inflammation and the omega-3s control anti-inflammation, and you can't have anti-inflammation, i.e. healing, without inflammation first. So they're all important. The fatty system of the body is what controls inflammation. And it happens through disturbances in cells. When a cell gets disturbed, it releases fats, and those fats go to initiate the inflammatory biochemistry. However, over the last 120 years or so, we have flooded the human biosystem, the human biological system, with processed, distorted fats that throw off inflammation and anti-inflammation. And this is responsible for a lot of inflammatory problems, whether it's inflammatory joint problems like arthritis, inflammatory problems that are associated with pain, microinflammation that's associated with cellular starvation, suffocation, toxification, and then all health challenges, or cancer. So the first thing to do with prostate issues is watch out for your fats. And Doc has been saying this for years. I've been saying it for years. Now you're starting to hear about it. Distorted fats, cooked fats, heated vegetable oils, fried fats, they have to be avoided at all costs by everybody, but especially if you have an inflammatory issue at the level of the prostate, which is what cancer is, or what they call BPH, benign prostatic hypertrophy, or benign prostatic hyperplasia, BPH. That means your cells are growing out of control. It's an inflammatory condition. So any prostate issue, think about fats. Stay away from fried fats, processed fats, and use good fats. Good fats are, of course, your ultimate EFAs, omega-6 and omega-3, but they're also fatty vitamins, especially vitamins D and E and K, D and E and A. Probably K too, but especially D and E and A. Interestingly, African American men who are notoriously deficient in vitamin D because they're dark are way at higher risk for prostate issues and vitamin D deficiency issues. So making sure you're getting out in the sun without a sunscreen, making sure you're using supplements that have vitamin E, have vitamin A, fatty vitamins, as well as minerals that are fatty, selenium and zinc especially. Selenium, zinc, vitamin D, E, and A, fatty phytonutrients, particularly saw palmetto, pumpkin seed oil, pygeum. You get all these in your ProstFX, along with your Ultimate EFAs. You make sure you're taking those. And then there's a really cool fatty nutrient called beta cytosterol, BETA-SITOSTEROL. And by the way, beta cytosterol also works for people who are getting up in the middle of the night and going to the bathroom. That's not necessarily cancer, but that's this hyperplasia or hypertrophy condition where the cells are growing out of control. The prostate sits around the part where your urine comes through, the urethra, and it can put pressure on there and it can throw off the stream. And so by reducing the inflammation, the hyperplasia or hypertrophy at the level of the prostate cells, you can reduce the pressure and improve urination. And for folks who are going to men who are going to the bathroom in the middle of the night 3, 4, 5 times, you'll find that when you start supplementing with your ProstFX and there's some beta cytosterol in there too, by the way. If you take beta cytosterol or your ProstFX, you'll notice you're not going to the bathroom as much. And then also blood sugar issues. There's a association between elevated blood sugar and dysglycemia and prostate issues. So whether or not you've been diagnosed as a diabetic, treat yourself like a diabetic. Low calorie, low sugar, ketogenic diet, healthy blood sugar pack, all the blood sugar stuff. And of course, it all boils back down, as all chronic health challenges do, to dirty blood, starting with a leaky gut. So correct any digestive health issues. Everything I just said today about, or in the last 5, 10, 15 minutes about PSAs and prostate issues, and for that matter, skin cancer issues, is true for everything. This is the simplification of health. And that's what we want to be doing. We want to simplify this thing. The worst health challenge that smart people suffer from, AJ, overthinkitis.
I know the answer to that one too.
No, I know, but I love it when I pick on AJ there. AJ, overthinkitis.
Overthinkitis.
And that's smart people. So dumb people don't suffer from overthinkitis. Smart people, and we're all smart people here. So don't fall for the overthinkitis. Simplify. The triangle of disease I even simplified that. The plane of disease, the metabolism, and leaky gut. And the only 3 things that can go wrong with a cell: starvation, suffocation, and toxification.
All right. Well, Pharmacist Ben, we only have 9 more minutes.
Okay, let's get a couple.
And I'm excited to say we have Dr. Joanne Conway.
No
September
way.
3rd.
No
Yes.
way. And I'll
So
tell you
she's
what,
gonna
I
be-
talk a lot about the digestive system, but I don't even know a thimble's worth about the digestive system compared to Dr. Conway, who literally wrote the book on it. Right, Dr. Joanne?
Yes, she did. Yes, she did.
Literally wrote the book.
Yes. So I'm excited to have her on, as we're going to be talking about the 20-day protocol, which is for those that are really dealing with quote unquote autoimmune and bad digestion.
Awesome.
You want to make sure you are tuning in, because this program has helped me help so many people. It's unbelievable. There's so many people I just start them off with this program, because you can have the best nutrition in the world, but if your digestion is not able to absorb it, you're not going to get the results you're looking for. Okay, let's go over to AJ.
Well, Becca, I'm gonna see Ben on Monday at 9 p.m. Eastern. So
Okay.
we can let our YouTube folks with Phyllis, maybe if you can get Phyllis.
Absolutely. Well, Phyllis, what question are you bringing in today?
Hi,
Question.
Becca and Ben.
Hi.
Ben, you spoke with Annie back in March. Her husband, and by the way, he's 78, 145 pounds, 5'10". He had neuropathy of the legs. You gave him a protocol, and he's been doing it, and his sensation is slowly coming back.
Okay, we
But
want to come back quickly. So
well, she says he also has ataxia and respiratory allergies. So does something need to be added to what you already told him about?
Well, I don't remember. I'm not sure what I told. I don't remember what I told them. But peripheral neuropathy is inflammation at the level of the nerves, and the most important cause of peripheral neuropathy in general involves sugar and nutritional deficiencies. Now, it could be other things, but I've told a story before. But for people who haven't heard it or people who are new, vitamins were discovered at the beginning of the 20th century, or the end of the 19th century, when it was noticed that people overseas in the Philippines, actually, or over somewhere in Southeast Asia, I think it was the Philippines, were suffering from peripheral neuropathy when they started to ingest a Western diet. Back then, colonies were big and imperialism was big, and there were countries that were going to other smaller countries to rob them of resources, and the whole story, the whole political thing that was going on. And one of the places was in Southeast Asia, and the Americans and the British were in Southeast Asia, and they started to share their Western diet with the natives on the islands. And one of the things that was distinct about the Western diet over the diet of the indigenous folks was white grains. Americans and Europeans were fascinated with white. There's a whole story there. And they were taking the rice, specifically the rice, which the Asians were, that was a staple in their diet, was rice. And they were giving them rice, except they were giving them our rice, European rice, Western rice, which is white, as opposed to natural brown. And they were getting the white rice by shaving off the surface. And so all of a sudden, these natives thought it was really cool to be eating American and Western food, high-tech food, rich people food. And so they were eating all this white rice, and they started to suffer from peripheral neuropathies. And researchers, this is when nutrition was just starting to get kind of big. Really, nutrition didn't start getting going until the French Revolution, the early part of the 1800s. That's when we really started to figure there's something going on in food that's good for you. Before then, they had no idea about anything in food. In the early part of the 19th century, the 1800s, the French Revolution was kicking in, and the idea of the French Revolution was to bring the power back to the people. As dysfunctional, as terrible as the French Revolution was, it was based on liberty, equality, fraternity, all these wonderful, beautiful philosophical principles, and they didn't want the doctors having the power. This is very similar to what's happening today. The doctors had all the power, and the French Revolution was about putting the power back in the people, and one of the first things they thought of was food. And they realized that you could get healthy through food, and they started experimenting with food. And in the early part of the 20th century, the early part of the 19th century, they looked for proteins and fats and carbohydrates, and they knew there was proteins and fats and carbohydrates up until the end of the 19th century, when they started to think, well, wait a minute, maybe there's something else in the food aside from the proteins and the fats and the carbohydrates. And it all came to a head when they had all these natives, these indigenous folks suffering from peripheral neuropathies. And they realized that the peripheral neuropathies that they were suffering from, and I'm condensing the story here, it's a little bit more in-depth than this, but they realized that there was an association between the white rice and the peripheral neuropathy. So they looked into the polishings, the brown stuff that they were taking off the white rice, and they started to analyze it. And they looked in there, and they found that when they gave the polishings to the people who had peripheral neuropathy, no more peripheral neuropathy. So they started to study the polishings to see what the heck was in the polishings, and they discovered the very first vitamin. And while we take vitamins for granted now, this was revolutionary. They knew proteins and fats and carbohydrates. Those are big. You could see those. And they knew those for 100 years. But all of a sudden, they found that there were these invisible substances. They didn't know they were molecules, but substances that could cure disease. Imagine this. There's things in food they didn't know existed that could cure disease. This was so radical. And it started the whole nutrition ball rolling. And the very first vitamin that they discovered was the anti-peripheral neuropathy vitamin. And ironically, it's a vitamin that almost everybody is deficient in today, still. And what vitamin is it? It's vitamin B1, thiamine. And thiamine deficiency is one of the hidden causes of a wide range of health challenges, including peripheral neuropathy, including dysglycemia, including heart disease and cardiomyopathy, and including digestive health issues, especially constipation. And why are we all deficient in thiamine? Because everybody's getting their thiamine from the RDA. And what is the RDA? The ridiculous deprivation allowance, designed to keep you ridiculously deprived. And so on top of that, thiamine, vitamin B1, is used by the body to process sugar and alcohol and refined foods, which is why thiamine deficiency is associated with blood sugar problems, which are associated with peripheral neuropathy. The more sugar you're eating, the more carbs you're eating, the more processed food you're eating, the more alcohol you're drinking, the more thiamine you need. And so, in my opinion, vitamin B1 deficiency is one of the great hidden nutritional deficiencies. And it's one of the reasons why this stuff here is so darn valuable, among many other reasons, because it's a great source of vitamin B1 or thiamine. The things that can occur in addition to cardiomyopathy and blood sugar issues and peripheral neuropathies and GI problems and chronic constipation that are associated with thiamine deficiency, one of the worst things that's associated with thiamine deficiency is mental health issues, including depression and psychosis and hallucinations, in fact, and emotional disturbances and anger issues and ADD. And is it any wonder that our kids are going off to school after Pop-Tarts and cereal and a glass of orange juice and toast, and they go off to school? Of course they're going to have ADD. They just depleted their entire body of thiamine, not to mention if they have a blood sugar problem or they're diabetic, which they could very well be. If somebody is on the street, an alcoholic is on the street talking to himself, talking to pink elephants and leprechauns and hallucinating, they'll take the drunk, they'll put him in the drunk tank, and guess what they put right in his blood? Right in the blood. Thiamine. It's the cure for alcoholic psychosis, or Werner-Korsakoff. They call it Werner-Korsakoff syndrome, alcoholic psychosis. But how many people don't have full-blown alcoholic psychosis, but they just forget things, or they just have anger issues, or concentration issues, and they simply are eating a lot of sugar and they're depleting their bodies of thiamine. So this nutrient is incredibly valuable, long story short, for peripheral neuropathy. It's like a treatment for peripheral neuropathy. But also, peripheral neuropathy is associated with blood sugar problems. So diabetes and peripheral neuropathy, you don't have to have full-blown diabetes. Dysglycemia, remember there's a distinction between the official disease that the doctor knights you with, and that you wear a little t-shirt and a baseball cap for, and you race for the cure for, and having the disturbances in your chemistry. You don't have to be a diabetic. It's dysglycemia, and there's a very important connection between blood sugar problems and peripheral neuropathy. And by the way, peripheral neuropathy is agony. Agony. It's like you have a fire going on in your limbs, in your extremities, and you can't even imagine the kind of pain people go through with peripheral neuropathy. So treat yourself like a dysglycemic or a diabetic, healthy blood sugar pack, thiamine. There's a great supplement called alpha-lipoic acid that helps some people for all chronic pain issues, by the way, alpha-lipoic acid, and plant-derived minerals also. And we haven't, for some reason this has gone under the radar with plant-derived minerals, and I've got to go here in a second, but maybe for our next talk or maybe on Monday, AJ. Plant-derived minerals contain substances that are very important for the energy-producing component of cells called mitochondria. The plant-derived minerals have a certain specificity for protecting mitochondria, and mitochondrial burnout is behind a lot of the problems associated with dysglycemia, messed up blood sugar, including peripheral neuropathy. So plant-derived minerals also for our peripheral neuropathy patient.
Thanks, Ben. And it sounds like Annie's husband might want to up his BTT and 100%. Also extra plant-derived minerals.
Extra plant-derived minerals, mineral toddy, and healthy blood sugar pack, and yes, up their BTT. Absolutely.
And how about de-stress?
De-stress is okay, but it's not like the other ones. De-stress is all right. Okay. No, but it's not in the same order of magnitude as the BTT and the healthy blood sugar pack.
Well, so I was taking the BTT. I was taking basically the blood sugar pack, and I added in that de-stress and my peripheral neuropathy within about 3 weeks.
Yeah. Okay. Well, then you know more. Yeah. Then that's always go by experience.
Yeah, and I did do more of the plant-derived minerals. So
plant-derived minerals. Yeah, there's plant-derived minerals are very underappreciated for mitochondrial health.
yes.
And for a lot of other things too.
The
Plant-derived
de-stressing.
minerals will help you absorb other nutrients too, which is why you want to do your plant-derived minerals with your other nutrients, with your meat and with your meals.
Awesome. Good information. We did not get to all the questions, so definitely
Monday.
have to have time with you on Monday. Pharmacist Ben Fuchs, everybody. I
Thank
hope
you.
we thank him for his time. I know you've got to get going, and if I could get the co-hosts up, that would be fantastic. Have a great weekend, Pharmacist Ben
I will.
Fuchs,
Bye.
everybody.
We'll see you on Monday, everybody. Bye, AJ. Bye, everybody.
All right, sounds great. Well, folks, thank you so much for joining us for this hour of information where he wasn't holding anything back. And I hope you were paying attention, because the body can do some amazing things when you give it the nutrition that it is starving for. And I get so many questions about that RDA. How come this has so much of this or so much of this? Well, what did he say? Ridiculously deficit allowance to keep you sick, folks. And it's really hard to overdo it on vitamins because of the way that our body is built. It's going to flush out what it doesn't need, but it's going to absorb what it does. But if your digestive system is not where it should be, you're not going to get the absorption you need to get to where you want to be. Let's make it simple. Thank you so much for joining us here on Daily with Doc and Becca. I just want to do a shout out to my team that I have on with us today. We've got Coach Rod out on social media, helping to keep an eye on stuff, keep the communication going. Thank you, Coach Rod. We have Albert letting people into the Zoom as our gatekeeper. Thank you so much, Albert. We have Marilyn, our speedy fingers, who is doing some chat information into the chat. Thank you, Marilyn, for all that you do. And right next to her, we have Phyllis, who is out bringing in questions from the different platforms, putting in comments into the chat as well. Thank you so much, Phyllis. And we have the gentleman that has helped us get on so many different platforms, whether you're watching us with your eyes or just listening to us on one of those audio programs. Thank you, AJ, for all that you have done to help get us where people are listening and watching. So, folks, if there's a way that you can let us know where you're listening and watching, comment. Let us know that you're there. Let us know what you pulled from this program that caught your attention. Did I hear somebody say my name? No? Okay. Must have been from upstairs. Get back with the person that shared this program with you. If there is no one to thank, give us a call at 855-949-3377, 855-949-3377. I have a team of certified holistic health coaches there to answer the phone. And this is for people that are not already working with somebody. So if you're working with somebody or somebody referred you, they are your point of contact to get back in touch with. Chances are they may also be a certified holistic health coach. If they're not, or if you're interested in more information about becoming a certified holistic health coach, you can go to coach.dailywithdoc.com. Get more information about our coaching program. Yes, there is a payment plan where you can break the payments down into 1 payment, 3 payments, or 6 payments. Your choice, and they've kept it affordable so most people are able to get the information that they need to help themselves, help their families, and together, folks, we can make an impact on the health of those around the world. Again, my name is Becca Dukes. Thank you so much for joining us, and we will see you next week, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, from 12 to 1 p.m. Pacific, 1 to 2 Mountain, 2 to 3 Central, and 3 to 4 Eastern, right here on Zoom live or on your favorite platform. To join us, go to zoom.dailywithdoc.com. And if you'd like to join us in the future, make sure you get on that list, zoom@dailywithdoc.com. Bye for now. This program is for educational purposes only. The content is not intended to diagnose, treat, cure, or prevent any diseases, nor is it intended to take the place of your primary care physician. The statements in this program have not been evaluated by the FDA. Testimonials are shared as individual experiences, and the individual results vary and may not be typical. We do not make any claims regarding health or income. As an empowered individual, you do have options available. We are honored to have a founding father of the science of epigenetics guiding us with the best options to obtain or maintain optimal health. Dr. Joel